Good morning. Welcome to the No Way Jose podcast. This is the Morning Dump. I am your host. It's May 28th, Thursday. I am your host, Jose Galison, and this is the kitty of the day, Jeff, a fan favorite, the fat fuck himself, the handsome homie. Now, if you like seeing my hot takes Monday through Friday around 11 a.m. Eastern when we make it and when we make it on time, a little bit late today, been a rough week. We'll talk about that here in a few. Or if you just like seeing the kitty of the day, then be sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that bell for notifications. That way you can see when we're going live and when we drop new videos. We'll see you in the show.
Beautiful thing right now.
Rise and shine. It's a beautiful day. I am alright.
About a third of the building has been blown away.
This is the bridge to white lights.
Our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts.
And at that point, we were taken for another round of questioning, this time related to our allegedly being members of Mossad.
It's crazy evil.
Good morning, everyone. Hope you're having a good one. If not, I hope we get that trend started. We have plenty to go through today. As always, we start the show off with Icebreaker Content, as we tend to call it. Stuff more in the fun, the funny, that sort of realm. The Gen Pop slop typically is what we put in that realm. Something a little bit more lighter sort of things, maybe not as deep, and that's where we do that to ease in and start. We have plenty to go through in that realm today. Then we'll go over to foreign policy, do our foreign policy roundup, and then we will get into White House under attack again. There was another, I guess you could say, an attempt on Trump's life, so we'll cover that. And then we have Tulsi out. She has resigned, so we'll cover some of the details there. And then we'll see where we're at on time for this last one, as always, with the last segment of the day. But then we have Israel's Epstein class. I have a few stories for you guys there, so pretty decent chance, about 50-50 that one gets cut, because it's a pretty dense segment, and I'm looking forward to digging through that with you guys, so I don't want to shirk it or do it any less justice than it needs to be, because there's been some interesting stories in that realm. But with that, I do like to remind you guys how this works. This is the dump, the morning dump. This is an interactive live stream, but you can listen to this back as like a podcast, and to try to accommodate that experience, I do put timestamps in there, so that way if you're someone listening back on the playback or on a podcatcher, if you don't want to deal with chat banter or something like that, or just a certain segment, is like maybe I've oriented to be more of like a live stream thing. It's more visually oriented, and you're like, well, shit, there's no point. I may as well just skip to the next segment. Well, this helps you along, allows you to bounce around from segment to segment. Maybe you miss the chat banter, which I totally get. You wouldn't want to get on the listen to it back. But with the chat banter too, I do try to keep the chat banter to the end of each segment. So once you start hearing that chat banter, all you gotta do is go down to the podcast or video description. You'll see the timestamps. Most platforms these days have hyperlinks. They'll just bring you right on to the next one. And then for those who are here for the live experience, I do try to give everyone at least a good morning. After that, you got to catch my interest or catch my wallet. You can super chat over here on YouTube. So yeah, that's that. Or depending on the size of the audience on any given day, or may not be engaging with the audience more or less. So just so you know, I may be more liberal with it sometimes, but we'll see. Let's go ahead and get into some of the icebreaker stories for today. Everybody, I don't see any complaints, so I guess I'm not having any audio issues. So I double check the chat real quick before we get into it. There's Jeff again in the back if you guys see him. But let's go ahead and get into some I don't know, some of the icebreaker sort of content. Again, here's my excuse for why I've been absent for basically the whole week. It's Thursday. This is supposed to be a daily show, Monday through Friday, and here I am on Thursday doing the first dump. Well, over the weekend, my internet went out. So here's a tweet of it. I said no TMD today or tomorrow. This is on Monday. So power went out yesterday. When it came back, the internet did not. Said earliest it can send out a person is tomorrow morning. So that was Tuesday morning. I ended up having somebody come out. I did, and it said the internet feds will not keep me down. So I did. I had to wait for somebody to come out. They weren't able to send somebody out on Memorial Day with my internet, but it's working again. And I like to joke around about the internet feds getting me, so I did think I'd let you know. They sent over a guy named Israel, so that made my butthole pucker up a little bit with all my internet feds jokes. But the internet's working now. It might be getting tracked more than usual, for all I know. But yes, we are back. Sorry, I had internet issues today. Or this week, not today, but this week. So my bad, and I did bounce yesterday because it's not only that, it's also the last week of school for my kiddos. So kind of threw off the schedule for the week and today too. So we should be back to normal. And actually, being that it's now summer for me, and we actually are probably going to get a whole lot more consistent with our start times and the days most likely. So I think we'll get in a much better groove of things. But got through that little rocky period. Internet's back. We're back. So sorry I'm late today. I know a lot of people were missing their dump, but we are back. But in my absence, apparently there was a video leaked. We covered I think last week or so. We covered the whole the Kaufman the parking lot dilemma. We joked and said Kaufman said the N-word. Now, to be clear, I don't think he actually ever. Not that I would really be upset about it. You guys know me. But I don't think he actually necessarily said the N-word. There's nothing that explicitly said that in any of the articles we read on that Kaufman situation. But essentially, some sort of scene was created in some sort of parking lot of a grocery store, I believe. It was racially charged in some way. I believe he was yelling at some third worlder or something, which, okay. I mean, who knows? I'm assuming they were probably being ignorant in some way. But either way, it became this whole thing, kind of this arguing back and forth. But just in the past couple days, there was footage released of the incident because it was kind of become this he said, she said thing. It sounded like there were multiple articles written that made it sound like Kaufman got into some sort of fender bender, and then he got into an argument with the person that he got into a fender bender with, and then he got into an argument with another third party person that not related to the issue. Somehow it became racially charged and all of this. Apparently his family tells him to come, pulls him away into the grocery store to get away from the situation. We don't know, details. We don't have video. We're just now getting this. So that is the circumstance. He came on Twitter, and I guess he did show the video of him, the cops, like a 30-second clip of the cops giving him shit, which I'm never going to, stump for the cops, but I mean, I know I could understand somewhat their exasperation in the situation. But either way, that's what we have from the Kaufman side of things. He kind of gave shit to the cops for, getting someone for just speech, essentially, which, I don't know, it sounds more like a public nuisance, but whatever. But, now more information's coming out. We're getting video of the occurrence. So here you go, guys. I hope this clarifies some things for you. But this is from the grocery store parking lots. This is someone caught Kaufman in this incident. So here you go.
Come on,
What are you doing here? Do not!
I fuck you up.
Not with our
What
kids.
the fuck was that?
I fuck you up.
Not with our kids.
You fat fuck.
How dare you do
Fat
that?
fucking
Get the fuck
honky
out of
tonk
your car now! We have fucking kids. What is wrong with you?
You
How
need to-
dare you come around and follow us? How dare you do
I
that?
think you need to get a hold of him.
Wait, are you just the fuck?
Dude, your kid is crying.
Doing this in front of our kids.
Hey, come stop me then. Come stop me then.
Get the fuck out.
I was gonna do something.
Okay, that was a lot for a really dumb joke, but I just thought it was funny. This came across. I almost tweeted it on Maine. Just said footage has been released of the Kaufman incident, just because I thought it was hilarious. But I just didn't care to deal with the drama. So here we go. We do it here. But anyways, I thought it was funny. Just for clarity's sake, for anyone who's like, what is he talking about? That's a joke. This is a joke clip. This is a viral, funny clip going around of some dude in the parking lot, some dad in the parking lot, kind of a skinny little chicken chest dude kind of doing the like shirt off, bowing up. So I just thought it was a kind of a... And to some degree, I guess there's a little bit of... We can apply this commentary to the recent LP convention, which I don't know, maybe we'll talk about that tomorrow. I'm considering maybe making some sort of segment. I don't think I could take it too seriously. I'd have to probably put in like the icebreaker portion or something because I just don't care. But I mean, there is definitely, it was interest. I guess there's some interest, kind of funny, but like it just doesn't even seem relevant enough to talk about. But I don't know, maybe we'll talk about it tomorrow. Some interesting shenanigans somewhat, I guess, in the LP convention, but similar energy. Kaufman was there. He was running for chair. I mean, don't get me wrong. The people he's going against do suck, but he also does kind of very much put off this energy of the clip that I just showed. Even so it's kind of this like, what are you proving here? Yeah, we all agree they're faggots, and you're like, look at me trigger these faggots, and you're like, yeah, we all agree, Jeremy. Anyways, I guess that's my perspective on the whole LP thing. But let's get into the latest, I guess kind of lean a little bit forward, lean a little ahead into our next segment on the White House shooting, which that's going to be not our first, it'll be our first named segment. I guess we're going to go through foreign policy here in a second first. But through this situation, something occurred that falls far more better in place in my icebreaker content. A mimetic story happened here. There have been, essentially with the shooting that we're going to talk about, there were a few different, in the moment this happened around the White House, there were a couple different newscasters out there recording the news. And so we got a few different people's, like, oh my goodness, this is how they react in real time to, hearing shots ring out. And, there was some commentary along the lines of people being like, I know there's like this Asian lady, people like, oh, this looks so fake. I don't know, maybe not. And I'd say there's probably some people maybe even have said this to this one we're about to play. But this one right here has been the darling of this story. She has achieved meme status here. This is, I don't even know what her name is, but she is an absolute doll. I don't mean that'd be weird or anything. She's a very pretty lady, and like the expressions really sell it here. And also I think there's some sort of as a man or just really a human in general, people see this lady what I'm about to show you. It's kind of like adorable in the sense of like a woman with no survival instinct, because it's kind of adorable because it's like to some degree like that's kind of what you want as a man. Like you don't really need to have a survival instinct. It's like what that meme of like I'm built like this. I don't protect my wife because whatever. I protect her because she's retarded. Or I don't protect her because she's weaker than me. I forget what the meme even is. Like I don't protect her because she's weaker than me. I protect her because she's retarded or whatever. This is it in real life, and it's kind of great to see. But here is the late. This is one of the newscasters' responses to gunshots ringing out near her, kind of around the White House lawn. I guess that's enough hemming and hawing. I'll show it to you guys here. A little short, but watch it.
What is that?
Sounds like
today, but this obviously comes just a couple of weeks after a shooting.
It is pretty great. She hears gunshots, sticks her head out further. Just wonderful. I mean, the other newscasters, they kind of took a moment to process, get on the ground. Nope, not this lady, not this absolute doll. No, this is why we say you got to keep them in the kitchen. This is where that comes from. There's no, it's great as long as you're around, men. It's like whatever, you don't need to. We're here to protect you, but they can't be off around on their own. Or not with other men that, to some degree feel a sense of responsibility to them, whether it be a son, a brother, a father, a husband. You got to keep one of them nearby, lest you guys run into danger. Moving on. Okay, it's not moving on. This is still the same vein. This is, if you guys saw it, if you're listening to this on audio, sorry, but you guys can kind of imagine. She has a backdrop of the White House lawn. It's kind of a perfect... a perfect situation for memes. This is essentially a lot of people have. I've seen so many different variations of this meme already. So here's one. I don't know. Some of these are pretty much are duds, and some are actually pretty good, but. And then we got the Joe Biden one. Let's see, here's another one. What is... I actually have no idea what that one is. All right, let's go through the replies. I think they have better memes in there. Here's her actually taking it pretty well and pretty good in stride. Here's her showing a meme of what looks like Jesus coming out of the tomb. The wooden wheel not there, and then the Roman there, and she has a Roman centurion helmet on and is going, "What is that?" So just kind of seeing all the different uses of the meme. Here's the guy that we talked about last week that looked like he had a mask on his face. What is that? Oh, audio. Of course, audio went out when I flagged over, but you get the idea. This devolved into memedom, so sorry the audio went out on that one, but it's not even worth it to bring it up. So just scroll through replies, just tons of versions of this. What is that? What is that? This is what we've gotten out of this. This is probably the most memorable thing of the shooting. I think most everyone's already memory hold it as frequently as these things seem to be happening. Everyone's caring less and less and less. But with that, let's go ahead and roll through the chat, say our first round of good mornings, and then we will get into our foreign policy coverage of the day. So let's check in on you beautiful people. Good morning, Marcus Packard. Said good morning, good sir. Good morning to you. Asking where everybody is at. Well, some of them are here. They might start showing up a little bit later. We are a little late today, so hey. You can't blame too many people for not showing up on time. Good morning, Tom. Good morning, Mr. Wokereich. Yeah, if I don't show up on time, how are they going to show up late? Good morning, hey, say what now? Good morning, Derp. Good morning. Good morning, Derp with Kerp. Good morning, fellow Goy. Good morning, Marnimac. Good morning, King David. So smash the like and hype dumpers. Which, by the way, I saw someone ask me how to get to the hype. I don't know if there's like how you go about putting that on your videos or not, but sometimes YouTube will just not even give the option on my videos. Sometimes it'll later just randomly pop up, and sometimes it never gives the option. But essentially, you just go down to like where the comments and the live chat are at, and I think it'll give you like a third option when you have the hype, and then there you scroll over and boom, there's hype, and then you can hit it. So, but if it's not there, it may just literally not be there because YouTube does weird shit like that. Good morning, Scott. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hey, say what now? I think I already said hey to you. Good morning, Tara Jackson. Says good morning, my homies. Good morning to you. Good morning, darn that dragon. Tara is contributing the likes. You guys should too. Please hit that like button, people. Good morning, Boomer Sooner. Good morning, good morning. Yes, I think it looks like YouTube decides which videos can get hyped, and it's always after the live stream. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they have some sort of AI checks they run on it for to make sure it meets their standards for hypes or something like that. Like, for example, whenever I upload a video, it does that for monetization. It won't let me do monetization until it's like verified. Now that's for like copyrighted stuff, but like maybe they have different standards for what's hyped and like what's monetized or something. I don't know. That would be my guess. So, but all right, whatever. All right, cool. Let's get into some foreign policy stuff. Let's get into the latest in the foreign policy world. Now we did. I have abandoned you guys for a number of days, so. Apologies once again, but you really didn't miss a whole lot. I think I can jog you guys up to speed real quick, or get you guys up to speed real quick of where we're at. Last I think we talked, it was like basically rolling into the weekend of last week. It was all this talks about like, looks like something's gonna happen. Holy shit, something's totally gonna happen. Things are gonna happen. Deals. This is the language coming from Trump. Funny enough, though, around that exact same time, we had coming out Iran telling the world to ignore Trump's public statements as it is only for domestic media purposes. Which that's what I basically called this. Is kind of the point here. I quote tweeted this with a meme of a button that does nothing, and Trump kind of wheezing over it, and then put just kind of LOL amazing. So kind of being like, hey, nothing's happening here. Like there's no deal. They were floating out this idea of a deal. I think when we talked last, I told you guys that, like, do we really think Israel's going to stop attacking Lebanon? And Iran's at the very least been very clear about that. And that's the most minor of issues of what's causing this not being a deal that will actually go through. Well, surprise, it's not going through, and it seems to have completely fallen apart even further. To kind of, as an example of this, Trump added, it seems, in the 11th hour after getting a bunch of different Gulf countries together, including Iran, and kind of wrangling them together of some sort of deal, rah, something, getting this idea going of, we're going to get a deal. Everyone's all hyped about it. And then the 11th hour, as we're like, something's going to happen. Then he comes out, yeah, but you guys got to, everyone involved, not even just Iran, which that would be a non-starter to begin with, but literally every person involved in this deal, which would be like all of the Gulf countries. Well, they need to sign the Abraham Accords. That's what they need to do. They need to normalize with Israel. The huge sticking point for multiple of these countries for like decades now. Yeah, just do it on a whim. Just kind of, let's get this deal going. Let's get you, so we can sign you up for this too. Whoa. That is where we're at. So let's see it in Trump's own words. What he has to say about essentially adding this additional term, which honestly, as I think we talked about on Already Dead the other day, like from my understanding, like the deal between any given normalization deal between Israel and any one of these Gulf countries is probably just as, if not far more complicated than the deal would be between Iran and all these different countries on just like the actual substance, not this other shit, obviously, that he's adding in, but like just the nuclear, all this, it's probably just as complicated, maybe even more complicated. And now you're adding essentially an individual, like each one of these Gulf countries, an individual deal that they need to do, essentially. So you're complicating this deal to a ridiculous degree. You have so many parties involved, and now not only are you keeping it one-dimensional with one specific deal, you have deals upon deals upon deals with a fucking smorgasbord of characters involved. It's just a clusterfuck of epic proportions. It's obviously a poison. You can't even really call it a poison pill, like, because the poison pill implies some sort of subterfuge, deception. No, this is just poison with a thing that says poison on it. So, I mean, you have to be kind of fucking retarded to somehow think this is any way a good faith attempt at some sort of deal going forward here. But anyways, enough hem and haw. Here's Trump in his own words.
Accept an agreement with Iran that just calls for further talks on the uranium, or is the only option you provide one for?
I would for some of it, because it's a memorandum of understanding for speed. And one of the things that will happen is the strait will open immediately. But it's got to be perfect. I'm not going to do this. I didn't do this to get a crummy agreement. The worst agreement ever signed was by Barack Hussein Obama. What a horrible agreement that was. It was a setback for this country, for the whole world. The Middle East would have blown itself up. No, I would like to have the countries we were talking about, with Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, and the others, we'd like to have them immediately join and Steve Witkoff is working on that with Jared and some others, but would like to have them join the Abraham Accords. It'll be historic if they do it. And I think they owe that to us, to be honest. I think, because that really would be a tremendous sign. And I think those countries owe it to us. Steve, are you going to get them to sign?
We're definitely pushing it, Mr. President.
I'm not sure we should make the deal if they don't sign. You want to know the truth? If they don't sign to join the Abraham Accords, I don't know that we have countries in there already. UAE, great countries, bold countries. And it's turned out to be so good, so effective, and so we're requesting strongly that they join. It'll be great. It'll be great for Saudi Arabia. It'll be great for Qatar and Kuwait.
I gotta say, it's crazy how uncomfortable Marco Rubio's looked throughout all of this. But whatever, let's go on.
The whole group.
So the Iran deal might be contingent on more countries joining the Accords.
I don't want to say that. I'm not going to give you what's contingent, what's not. I can say that we can make a good deal right now, but maybe not a great deal. And if it's not a great deal, we're not making it.
All right, now this was a couple days, I believe a day or two after he had put out a Truth Social, kind of to this exact same sentiment. So this was him explaining a little bit more. But let's look at the Truth Social here. I think it's worth looking at to kind of see how he blew up this whole deal in real time. Here it is, another one of these long, ridiculous truths he has. Says, negotiations with the Islamic Republic of Iran are proceeding nicely. It will only be a great deal for all or no deal at all. Back to the battlefront and shooting, but bigger and stronger than ever before, and nobody wants that. During my discussions on Saturday with President Mohammed bin Salman Al Saud of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan of the UAE, Emir Tamim bin Hamad bin Khalifa Al Thani, Prime Minister Mohammed bin Abdulrahman bin Jassim bin Jabir Al Thani, and Minister Ali Al Tawadi of Qatar, Field Marshal Saeed Asim Munir Ahmed Shah of Pakistan, Jesus Christ, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan of Turkey, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi of Egypt, King Abdullah II of Jordan, and King Hamad bin Isa al-Khalifa of Bahrain. I stated that after all the work done by the United States to try and pull this very complex puzzle together, it should be mandatory that all of these countries, at a minimum, simultaneously sign onto the Abraham Accords. So this is a thing that we're owed this, which is insane if you understand the dynamics of the Gulf countries there, and especially the situation that we have put them in with all of this. Those countries discussed are Saudi Arabia, the UAE, already a member, Qatar, Pakistan, Turkey, Egypt, Jordan, and Bahrain, which is already a member. It may be possible that one or two have a reason for not doing so, and that will be accepted. But most should be ready, willing, and able to make this settlement with Iran a far more historic event than it would otherwise be. The Abraham Accords have proven to be, for the countries involved, the UAE, Bahrain, Morocco, Sudan, and Kazakhstan, a financial, economic, and social boom even during this time of conflict and war, and the current members never even suggesting leaving or taking so much as even a pause. The reason for this is that the Abraham Accords have been great for them and will be even better for years. It will be a document respected like no other that has ever been signed anywhere in the world. Its level of importance and prestige will be unparalleled. It should start with the immediate signing by Saudi Arabia and Qatar, and everybody else should follow suit. If they don't, they should not be part of this deal, and that it shows bad intention. And speaking to numerous of the great leaders mentioned above, they would be honored as soon as our document is signed to have the Islamic Republic of Iran as part of the Abraham Accords. Now that would be something special. This will be the most important deal that any of these great but always in conflict countries will ever sign. Nothing in the past or in the future will surpass it. Therefore, I am mandatorily requesting that all countries immediately sign the Abraham Accords, and that if Iran signs its agreement with me as President of the United States of America, it would be an honor to have them also be part of this unparalleled world coalition. The Middle East would be the united, powerful, and economically strong, like perhaps no other area anywhere in the world. By copy this truth, I'm asking my representatives to begin and successfully complete the process of signing these countries into the already historic Abraham Accords. Thank you for your attention to this matter. DJT, President of the United States of America. So, yeah, prospects of peace, not looking so great. It's a poison pill if I've ever seen one. To such a ridiculous degree, it doesn't even seem appropriate to call it a poison pill. And who would have thought peace did not hold? Although it wasn't Iran that started it. It was, not only are we making it so these deals are completely impossible, essentially a non-starter, but then they go ahead and, do essentially break ceasefires here. Although these are, I believe they're characterizing them as defensive strikes. So we were defensively striking back against someone who didn't strike us in the first place. It was self-defense without the offense, essentially. But yeah, this as of yesterday, there were some launched yesterday, but there's apparently been another round of airstrikes being launched against Iran. So we're covering the most recent. This is a U.S. official told Reuters on Wednesday the U.S. military launched another round of airstrikes in Iran, an attack that risked plunging the region back into full-scale war. Because, yesterday, like I said, I've been here this week, but yesterday they also launched airstrikes. I believe they were characterizing those as self-defense, despite the fact no one was attacking them. Details of the attack are minimal, but an Iranian military source told Iran's Tasnim news agency the IRGC Navy fired on a U.S. tanker that tried to pass through the Strait of Hormuz by turning off its radar system. It said the U.S. then bombed an area around Bandar Abbas, an Iranian port city on the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. targeted with strikes on Monday. U.S. official speaking to Axios reporter Barak Ravid said the U.S. shot down 4 drones that targeted a U.S. commercial ship, then bombed a drone launch site on the ground. The Tasnim report said the U.S. strike on Bandar Abbas did not cause any casualties or property damage. U.S. officials speaking to CBS News framed the latest U.S. attacks as defensive, as the U.S. is attempting to obscure the fact that all of its hostilities against Iran, which include enforcing a blockade on its ports, are part of the same war the U.S. and Israel launched against Iran on February 28th. Earlier in the day, IRGC vowed a major response to any further U.S. attacks. If the enemies once again resort to military action, the Islamic Republic's method of confrontation will be different from what they have witnessed so far, and they will face a new face and image of Iran's combat power on the battlefield, said Ali Naderi, the deputy for PR of the IRGC's aerospace force. So you got 2 days of airstrikes in a row against Iran, seemingly trying to test the limits of said ceasefire. And unfortunately, it looks like they have discovered the limits. It looks like Iran is not going to allow themselves to sit around and be a Gaza or be a Lebanon, and they're not going to allow the U.S. to just sit here and flagrantly disregard a ceasefire and be expected to behave as if there is a ceasefire. So as of, I believe it was late last night, apparently the IRGC has said it's targeted an American air base in response to U.S. strikes and reporting missile and drone attacks on its territory. Now, we still don't have, that's the most information we have. I was looking at live updates before we started, so I haven't seen anything more on that. I mean, and the U.S. is pretty dodgy about, that was kind of a big deal with all this, is they were being weird about the actual damage and the actual attacks, the actual casualties, and those came out super staggered. So I don't know when we will find out more about this supposed air base that's been attacked, but hold tight. I'm sure then maybe by tomorrow or maybe by next week we may have some more information, but that's what the IRGC is currently reporting, and it would totally track given that they have been attacked multiple days in a row for no real reason. So, great. And then another reason why it's not looking like anything's going to happen so far as deal-wise, we got Trump saying he will not ease sanctions on Iran as part of a deal. So, I mean, it's kind of like, what even is there for Iran here? I mean, he wants to go back to where, there's no tolls happening in the Strait of Hormuz. They're not going to ease sanctions. They're insisting that they're not going to allow them to enrich whatsoever, no wiggle room. Both sides showing on multiple fronts here. It's just non-starter upon non-starter upon non-starter. Now I don't know if I necessarily say sanctions are a non-starter, but they're almost a non-starter. I think there's probably some sort of expectation of sanctions relief if there is a deal. But taking that off, it's kind of just showing that you have nothing to finagle with, to bargain with. If you're taking this off the table, what is there to bargain with? I think the Trump administration has kind of basically put themselves in a corner so far as bargaining goes. If you're not going to give them sanctions, if you're not going to ease up on allowing them to enrich, I mean, what even is there? I think other than you must submit to Israel. But Trump told reporters on Wednesday that easing sanctions on Iran is not under consideration in the current negotiations toward ending the war, reopening the strait, and paring down Iran's nuclear capability. This comes as Iranian parliamentary speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf has repeatedly insisted that unlocking access to his country's money should be a confidence-building measure, if not a precondition for talks with the U.S. Both Ghalibaf and Iran's central bank chief traveled to Qatar on Monday to discuss the release of some $6 billion that has been held in the Gulf state on Washington's orders since September 2023, signaling a potential breakthrough, which everyone likes to forget. That is the deal. This is literally Iran's money. Anytime they're talking about this, they're almost always talking about the money that we have taken, confiscated, stolen from Iran as a result of these sanctions. So, I know the stupid Obama deal nonsense you always hear from conservatives. Oh, they gave them billions of dollars and fucking just cash on pallets. Like, yeah, because that was their fucking money that the U.S. had stolen. Iran is desperately short of cash and maintains it is owed up to $120 billion of its own revenue that has been withheld by foreign governments and banking institutions thanks to U.S. sanctions steadily imposed on the country since the 1975 Islamic Revolution. The 96 Iran Sanction Act expands sanctions to those doing business with Tehran and barred it from obtaining a nuclear weapon. From 2005 onwards, a slew of U.S. sanctions have been imposed on individuals and companies alleged to have ties to terrorist activity. U.S. sanctions not only prevent anyone living in the U.S. or is a U.S. national from doing business in Iran, but it also denies Iran access to the U.S.-dominated global banking system, which largely runs on dollars and utilizes U.S. transfer mechanisms such as SWIFT. And then we have Trump threatening other parties here that are, kind of seems like some same team firing here. We have Trump threatening to blow up Oman if the country doesn't behave. Let's. I guess I'll show you guys the clip real quick. I have the clip ready to go. 1 second. Of course, StreamYard's being fucky, so give me 2 seconds. But here's a clip of Trump threatening to bomb one of these Gulf countries. Ones that's pretty chummy with us. So it's kind of weird. They're basically an ally. So here is Trump.
Going to control its international waters and. Going to control its international waters, and Oman will behave just like everybody else, so we'll have to blow them up. They understand that. They'll be fine.
So threatening to blow up allies. Let's take a little bit of this. This is from Dave DeCamp over at antiwar.com. Trump on Wednesday said the U.S. would blow up the country of Oman if it doesn't behave, a threat made when asked if it would accept a short-term deal that involved Iran and Oman jointly controlling the Strait of Hormuz. So I guess it was being floated that Iran and Oman could own it jointly. I guess the idea that maybe since Oman's a bit of a partner, that might lessen the blow. So he says, but I guess he seems like he got offended by that. No, the strait's got to be open to everybody. It's international waters. Nobody's going to control it. We'll watch over it, but nobody's going to control it. That's part of the negotiation, Trump told reporters while hosting a cabinet meeting at the White House. Oman will behave just like everybody else, or we'll have to blow them up. They understand that they'll be fine, the president added. Iranian media reported last month Iran's initial proposal to end the war with the U.S. involved charging a fee for ships transiting the strait, with the revenue split between Iran and Oman, which both have coasts along the waterway, and Iranian officials have held talks with their Omani counterparts on the issue. Initially described as a toll, the issue is now being framed in different terms. There is no toll. We need to pay attention to the words we use. We're not after money. Iran and Oman need to create protocols for the safe passage of ships, and this will be based on international laws, Iran Foreign Ministry spokesman Esmail al-Baghaei said this week. It's only natural the services we provide, like navigation and the preservation of the ecosystem of the Strait, the Persian Gulf, and the Sea of Oman, will have costs. These should not be considered tolls. Iran and Oman are being responsible in our efforts, and I hope we will reach a conclusion soon, Baghaei added. Iran is unlikely to back down on the issues in its negotiations with the U.S. as it seeks the funds to pay for reconstruction after the U.S.-Israeli bombing campaign. Looks like he got a little bit butthurt by the idea that Oman could be involved here. It looks like he's really trying to signal to Oman to fucking slow your roll and know your fucking place. So, although I don't know, these people like to have energy in their countries. So, and this is going to, probably resolve in some big old energy problems. I know we're looking at like $4 to $5 gas over here in the States, but in other countries, it's a whole lot more fucking dire for them. So yeah, we'll see how that works out. It's a bold move there. We'll see how it works for them. And then we also have more murder on the high seas. We got the U.S. Southcom kills at least one and lays execution at sea. So another strike on an alleged running boat in the Eastern Pacific. And they killed one person. Southcom said there were also 2 survivors and that immediately notified the U.S. Coast Guard to activate the search and rescue system for the survivors. Though in previous cases, survivors have been left to drown, which is just awful. Just murdering people in the sea and then bouncing as they sit there and fucking drown. Because maybe they had some drugs. Which, by the way, I remember there was one of these ones. They ended up finding out, they did have drugs, but it was weed. So they ended up murdering a bunch of third worlders because they would dare to have weed. Something that you can just walk into a dispensary in most states and just get. So U.S. Command described the people targeted as narco-terrorists. Surprise, surprise. Term the Trump administration used to justify what are extrajudicial executions at sea for an alleged crime that doesn't receive the death penalty in the U.S. They didn't back up any evidence that these people are actually peddling drugs in any way. They just murdered some people and sent us a fun little snuff video for a good measure. And as this is going on, looks like there may be some murder in Cuba. Pentagon has put forces in place. So just kind of looks like they're just waiting for the order. The Pentagon spent months positioning warships and weapons in place for an attack on Cuba and is ready to go if Trump gives the order, Politico reported on Wednesday. So keep in mind, looks like they're trying to use the vector of Raul Castro, the brother of, who's a former president himself and the brother of, I can't think of his name. Fidel, yeah, Fidel Castro, the brother of Fidel Castro, and looks like they're going to be trying to do a similar sort of thing as they did with Maduro, although it's a little bit confusing. It's a little, I don't understand entirely how this plays out since Raul is not actually running the place. But either way, I don't know. Keep an eye out. Looks like we might be doing some fuckery in Cuba soon. So wouldn't be the least bit surprised if that kicks off sometime soon. Well, you kind of been the conventional thinking for a while that would be the thing after Iran. But unfortunately, it looks like the Iran thing is dragging on so long with no end in sight that I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if the Cuba thing kicks off to some degree, maybe even intentionally somewhat as a distraction from the Iran thing. Maybe even hoping we can get a W here and put a little wind in our sails. Although we'll see how that goes. Definitely won't go good in the long term, but definitely concerned it could also go tits up in the short term and just make the whole situation that much worse. But hey, what can you do? Lebanon's not looking too great either. Israel keeps on being pieces of shit. 1 second, sorry. Here we go. Israel orders major Lebanese city of Tyre evacuated, escalates attacks on southern Lebanon. From Jason Ditz over antiwar.com. Tuesday saw some of the heaviest Israeli airstrikes on southern Lebanon in weeks, killing dozens of people. Offensives are being reported further north beyond the yellow line, and all this in spite of a ceasefire that nominally remains in place. Ceasefire, dozens dead. Isn't that, wow, that's what a world we live in. Wednesday morning suggested the situation in southern Lebanon is continuing to spiral, with Israel announcing another new evacuation order, this time for the major city of Tyre. The locals were told that for their own safety, they should flee north of the Zerani River. That's easier said than done. For residents of Tyre, even getting the Zerani River, let alone north of it, would require first crossing the Litani River, and Israeli forces already destroyed every single bridge across that river over a month ago. So in layman's terms, Israel's trapping these people in a location, telling them they should go to another location or they're all going to die, and there's not really much of a way to get out of that location. So I guess in their eyes, they're like, well, you should have evacuated earlier. Israel has ordered everyone south of the Litani River to flee north back in March. So technically speaking, this is not the first time the residents of Tyre have been ordered out during this war. Many were simply unable to flee at the time. However, in the ability to flee northward, especially now that there are no extant bridges, has not gotten any easier. Also, how about fuck you? You don't just get to tell people to leave their fucking houses because I want to do murder here and I want to destroy your house. So, yeah, those people had every reason or every right to stay. They're also may not be entirely sure, how things are going to play out. They're like, hey, do I need to leave? Who knows? Maybe Hezbollah will pull through here. Like, I don't know. So the open-ended evacuation orders have displaced in excess of 1.2 million people, roughly 25% of the population of the entire country, with hundreds of people continuing to be killed during the state of ceasefire and Israeli forces continuing to level southern villages. It's not clear if many of them will ever be able to return home. Israeli strikes against southern and eastern Lebanon have continued with the new evacuation orders. Lebanese officials reported a soldier was killed in an Israeli strike in the western Bekaa Valley late Tuesday evening. Lebanese military officials said they had only just recovered the body on Wednesday, with Israeli security threats in the area preventing the recovery overnight. So, not looking great in Lebanon, not looking great. 1.2 million people displaced, which it is like essentially multiple times worse than the Nakba, by the way. So just to put that in, give you a little bit of a frame of reference there. I believe, what do they say, like 400 to 700,000, I think is typically the estimates of the Nakba. Essentially what started this whole shebang, where in Israel back in the 40s kicked out a bunch of Palestinians off their land and said, this is ours now, bitch. That whole trauma cycle that got put in place then, that was like only a fraction of what's going on in Lebanon. So we'll be dealing with this almost certainly for decades to come as well. So especially if you live in that region. And the same thing goes for Gaza. So an Israeli strike on a residential building in Gaza City kills 7, including 3 women and a child. So 3 women and a kids, 4 out of 7 are obviously innocents, just being murdered once again on a daily basis. This sort of stuff happens over in Gaza. This is the IDF continues its constant violations of the U.S.-backed ceasefire deal. So another area that's a ceasefire. Palestinian Red Crescent Society told WAFA the 7 bodies and 18 wounded Palestinians were transferred to the Al-Shifa Hospital and a field hospital in Gaza City. This was a residential building in Gaza City that they hit. Strike came as Palestinians in Gaza were celebrating the Muslim holiday of Eid al-Adha, and photos from earlier in the day show Gaza residents gathered for public prayer. It was meant to be the first night of Eid celebrations and family visits in the Gaza Strip, said Ibrahim al-Khalili, an Al Jazeera reporter based in Gaza City. Instead, it turned into a tragedy as Israeli fighter jets carried out intense airstrikes targeting a residential building in central Gaza. The Israeli military claimed that it targeted 2 senior Hamas operatives in the airstrike, but so far, the claim hasn't been confirmed by Hamas. Regardless of who Israel targets, any attacks violate the October 2025 ceasefire deal, under which Israel committed to halting all military operations. So, like, even if they did kill these senior operatives, which I think Israel might have actually, I think there was another story I saw where they may have confirmed that, but either way, that's beside the point, because they're in a fucking ceasefire. Like, you can't be killing innocents during a ceasefire, but the funny thing is, usually how ceasefires work is there are 2 armed groups that make an agreement not to attack each other, and typically, usually just kind of thrown in that there, the innocents in the area are usually kind of generally like, if you're going to have the 2 armed groups not killing each other, it typically makes sense that that's kind of included. So we see all these innocents, and like, don't get me wrong, the innocents, I get it, we should hold it to a higher value. But so far as like, what a ceasefire is, agreement amongst individuals, honor bound, like what that is, that's between 2 armed groups. So like, and so it's funny that there's always this like assumption, like, oh, they're killing people over there, and you're like, oh, well, did they get a Hamas guy? You're like, in the sense of, in regards to the ceasefire, that's actually worse. In a certain, obviously in a moral sense, it's not worse, but like in regards to what a ceasefire is, like that is worse. If you are targeting senior Hamas operatives, if you are carrying out literal military strikes against people who are not attacking you, you are breaking a ceasefire in the most explicit of terms. So, like, to the ridiculous degree to where it's like someone not attacking you that of the group that you literally agreed not to attack. Now, like, you sort of have wiggle room with an innocent because you're like, well, maybe we're just murdering innocents. We didn't agree not to kill innocents. So, anyways, whatever. I digress. I'm getting off, but it's ridiculous. This is the state of the world. So on Tuesday night, Israeli airstrike in Gaza killed Mohammed Oda, the head of Hamas. No, that's what I saw. okay, I haven't seen anything confirming the 2 senior Hamas operatives, but the Mohammed Odeh, the head of Hamas's military wing, I did see something confirming that. So that has been confirmed. It also killed his wife, 2 sons, and 2 other Palestinians. So I'm sure his wife and 2 little kids had a whole lot to do with his supposed terrorist activities. But who are the real terrorists here? I don't even really think you need to wonder. It's pretty obvious. Moving on, Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz said on Wednesday the Israeli plan to ethnically cleanse Gaza of its Palestinian population, which he frames as voluntary emigration, will be implemented at the right time. Keep in mind, these, once again, they're in a ceasefire, and one of the things they agreed to was that they are not going to do that. Katz made the comments in a statement on the Israeli killing of Mohammed Odeh, who was targeted by Israeli airstrike in Gaza City on Tuesday night as the IDF continues daily attacks on the Strip, in violation of the U.S.-backed October 2025 ceasefire deal. We committed to eliminating everyone who led the October 7th massacre, and so it shall be. They are all sentenced to death, wherever they may be, Kat wrote on X. Yeah, well, that's like against the terms of your ceasefire once again. We committed the Hamas will not, like, it's astounding to be in the middle of a ceasefire and then loudly and proudly proclaim how you are blatantly disregarding the ceasefire at the highest level multiple times over and over again. Anyways, we committed that Hamas will not rule Gaza civilly or militarily, and so it shall be. And also the voluntary immigration plan from Gaza will be implemented, everything at the right timing and the right manner. Since the start of the genocidal war in Gaza, it's been clear the Israeli government's goal was the ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian territory, though it's been unable to achieve it as Israeli officials haven't found a country willing to absorb the population of Gaza. The ethnic cleansing plan got a boost after President Trump announced last year's vision of turning Gaza into a Middle East Riviera, a plan that involved removing the Palestinians. But the U.S. backed off this goal when forming its peace plan for the Strip, which hasn't been implemented as Israel has continued its constant violations of the initial ceasefire deal. But senior Israeli officials have made clear their ultimate goal remains ethnic cleansing, and some have been explicit in their calls for the establishment of Jewish settlements in the Strip. Said, I call on the Prime Minister to order the IDF to prepare immediately for the full conquest of the Gaza Strip, to establish Israeli control over all the territory of the Strip, and to establish Israeli settlement in it. Without settlement, there will be no security, Bezalel Smotrich, Israeli finance minister, said last month. So, just to recap where things are at currently in Gaza, they've been threatening to pick shit back up for a while. I mean, hell, the piece we just read here is where they're talking about, how they're going to remove them at the right time. Essentially, that they're going to move forward with the emigration, the forced emigration of the Palestinians. Well, with all of these like teasing of going back into full-blown warfare over in Gaza, the big thing that they're usually kind of pushing on is the fact that they keep going to, hey, Hamas is refusing to demilitarize. Hamas is refusing to demilitarize. Hamas is refusing to demilitarize. That's their go-to now. I mean, they've always had, like, we've covered so many deal stuff here and there. There's usually always some stupid fucking thing. I know at one point it was the returns of hostages from both sides, and Israel got all squirrely about, essentially not being willing to work with Hamas at all and like getting the bodies back, because some of the, like, I know they were trying to essentially lean into the idea of going back into warfare or not owning up to their side of the deal for certain things, because Gaza, it was taking a while for Hamas to get them the bodies of hostages, because a number of them died. And I think they even got down to where they literally just had one left, and it was just like they just couldn't find the body, and that's what Israel kept leaning on. Eventually, they sorted that out. They actually found the body, gave it to him. I think it was funny enough on the Israel side of things, so Hamas wouldn't even have access to it anyways. That's a whole other story. We've covered that before. But either way, all of that, it's just to say that, like, it's always hard to keep track of where all the... Okay, where was I even saying? So there's so many different... okay, we're talking about I was talking about the bodies. Sorry, so many different deals that have gone on. So the bodies... What was I getting at? Damn it. Totally... I had a fucking thread here. There's just so many different failed deals and stuff to thread all this stuff together. Now they're leaning on they're not demilitarizing. That is the line. At least before There usually is like differing levels of like there might be something to it. Like with the bodies thing, it is like, okay, sure, Hamas did say this is what they agreed to. They're going to have this many bodies by whatever given time. Although even in that circumstance, they did emphasize to like work with us because it's like we can't promise we're going to do our best, yada, yada, yada. And even still, Israel behaved the way they did. But all that aside, at least there was some thread of like something. There's literally nothing here because the Hamas never agreed to demilitarize. That's something they've never agreed to. And it was something from the start. They were like, well, we would be open to considering it, that we could do this, we could do that. This is something we'd be willing to discuss with you. But how about let's first actually do the first like part of the deal, which they never got past, which is, stop murdering people. And there was a whole bunch of other stuff like aid increasing, this and that. And most of those things Israel gave way somewhat, but then never really quite owned up to exactly what they were supposed to do as their part of the deal. Surprise, surprise. But just kind of once you understand the ins and outs of this deal, it becomes all the more ridiculous and just becomes divorced from reality what's happening here. And it really just shows you the trick on full display because it's like they're not in any way, shape, or form, I mean, maybe in the tiniest of ways in certain regards, owning up to their side of this deal. And yet they continue to push Hamas and behave as if they're not, as if Hamas is not, owning up to their side of the deal. They're not doing some sort of agreed upon thing. And that's never the case. And, they keep, leaning on things they never said. Meanwhile, then people will point out things they did say, and they'll just ignore that and point out the thing that, Hamas is supposedly was supposed to do, but they never agreed to. So it's a headache. It's a headache trying to wrap your head around all of that. It just becomes very obvious what the real deal here is just to frustrate the fuck out of everyone and get those people the hell out and scam everybody in the process. So, and during all of this, we got more settlement shit popping off. So we got Israeli settlers, soldiers attack and loot West Bank villages. This is over at Middle East Eye. You guys go check this out in your own time. But just a reminder that they're doing it again. This happens like every other month. You get a bunch of yahoos come over here and attack some poor Palestinians. They're just trying to hang on their land. They're just trying to force these people off of it. So now in this one, though, I will take a moment to mention that there was a 16-year-old dead in this ordeal. Yusuf Kabneh was shot dead as settlers backed by soldiers stormed 3 villages north of Ramallah and forcibly took 900 sheep. Apparently he was unarmed, and I think he just said, essentially said some of these people, and they shot him right in the chest. Is the story here. So, and more organized violence. Real, actual pogroms in real life, except they're actually happening to Palestinians. So that's ain't that how it goes. But with that, guys, let's go ahead and roll into the chat. We'll say some more good mornings. We got through all our foreign policy, and then we will get into the White House under attack again. So let's roll the chat, say some more good mornings. Good morning, Alano Mofo. Says woot woot. Good morning to you. To remind you guys to like and share. It is easy peasy and free as fuck. It sure is. Good morning, everybody. Everyone who doesn't agree is an Austrian painter, says Alan Amofo. That's a good one. Good morning, Q Bertamo. Good morning. Good to see you here. Saying Hitler was a top-level Jew who was put in as the face of the Holocaust psyop. Perhaps. Now, to be very clear for the YouTube censors, there was no psyop. That was totally legit. It was way more than 6 million. So moving on. Good morning, aggressively agreeing. Saying Trump is pretending to be Churchill. Trump's Israel is Churchill's France. And conceding to their every ask will lead to the West crumbling on itself even more than it already has. So, yeah. He also said he's just as bloodthirsty to become a conqueror, but he's literally too retarded to keep his mouth shut. Yep, does pretty good little analysis there for sure. Good morning, Fire Pixie. Good morning. Good morning to you. Who else we got? Good morning, Chris. That chick, Chris. Good morning to you. Saying, hey, everybody. Good morning. Boomer Sooner, I hope you get better. I see you're saying you pulled a muscle in your back. Hope you got some nice muscle relaxers at home or something like that. Just veg out for the day. I feel for you. Sorry. What else we got? Oh, hey, Eleno, saying good morning. Good morning. Good to see you here. Good to see you. Good to see you in the chat. All right, let's get into White House under attack again. So this is not the first time, not the first rodeo. It seems to be every time the ratings are dipping, this thing happens. Which I guess it started off for the audio people. Sorry, not a great joke since this is a visual gag here. But right here, we're about to witness what happens every time Trump's ratings go down. So enjoy this little video real quick.
FIB special agent, I got this covered.
Detain this man.
Fuck you! I should detain you. I just took a bullet for my country.
Sorry. So I guess for the audio people, it's a guy who shoots himself in his leg as a bunch of people come around the corner. And he's like, oh, he's got away. Oh, I'm FBI. Oh. And then, they're trying to arrest him. He's like, oh, he's getting away. He's getting away. So, obviously, the joke tells itself. So, the quote tweet here is, White House locked down after as many as 30 shots fired in vicinity. And those were the shots that we were playing earlier when we showed that absolutely doll of a meme broad. The reporter who kind of, what is that? What is that? Those are the shots we're referring to there. Those are the shots that were going off and the Secret Service responded to. Here's a little clip for you guys. Let's watch this from Fox News, kind of as it was breaking.
We're told that this was on the west side of the White House grounds. Again, you have the White House, and you also have the outer perimeter there, Gate 17, as it was described to me, near the Eisenhower Executive Office building. Somebody came up and brandished some sort of a pistol. I'm told that it was a pistol, in fact, not a long gun or a rifle or anything like that. And the alleged gunman got off at least 3 shots. And the United States Secret Service, who obviously prowl that area, some things might not be obvious to people walking by, but certainly to the people, guarding the perimeter. They responded to this. They're trained to respond to that gunfire. And I'm told, and this was the quote that was given to me, that they took the suspect down. Quote, they took him down. So this is a male suspect. I'm also told that somewhere in this process that a civilian was struck. We don't know how many shots that the Secret Service or other law enforcement might have gotten off. Again, they'll have to go through the ballistics evidence of this, and we don't know the condition of the gunman or the suspect. But the important thing here is that the President of the United States is safe and that the alleged gunman never got inside the White House perimeter.
All right, so you heard it there. It's kind of the details. Here is who it ended up being, who they ended up settling on being. This is 21-year-old Nasir Best. Apparently, on his online presence, according to OSINT Defender in here, that it suggests that he believed he was Jesus Christ. Best was transported to George Washington University Hospital after the shooting, where he later died from his wounds, according to the U.S. Secret Service. Now I have a feeling this will probably just die off and no one will look into this, but here's a crazy person thinks he was Jesus Christ. I've known of other crazy assassins, so I figure this would be a good opportunity for us to dig a little bit into that sort of lore. But there is something interesting. Now, do I even have a vibe whether this is fake or not? I have literally no idea. I wouldn't be surprised this is a crazy person who did just open fire in the vicinity of the White House, and he got taken down as a result. I don't know. It's not that crazy unbelievable. There's some crazy person who, for some reason, wanted a suicide by cop and do it in kind of one of the most grand ways you could. Death by president's cops, essentially. I can kind of wrap my head around that. It's not that crazy. But it's also one of those things where I got to point out how do I put this? I don't know if any of these assorted Trump assassination plots or attempts or whatever, are they all fake? Are they all ops? Are they some combination of? But it is funny to me that these are coming with such rapidity, over and over again, and somewhat also getting to be a little bit some of the elements redundant in some regards. Now they did mix it up here where we got a black guy, whereas the last person I believe who shot up the White House was some white kid, essentially all up amped up on the Epstein stuff. Now, this is just a loony black dude, so a little bit different, but another attack there. But we're getting a little bit of redundancy here. So my point being is it's just like we have all of these different ones, and like, yeah, maybe, you know, like I just imagine in my head, I guess, is kind of what I'm driving at here. So I could just totally imagine that one of these different ones get caught like in the moment or like in almost real time or shortly after, to be like, you know, kind of a complete op of some sort, or just kind of caught in the act sort of thing. And I could literally still see, and it actually be successful, like in that very moment, be like, oh my God, there's a shooting at the what? Like it just does it all over again, and then we're just Groundhog Days, and then we just move on to the next one. So it's like it's just funny how they just keep coming. I could just see it literally just be like, it's exposed that these are ops, and then just the next one just happens. But anyways, I just in my head that's kind of a funny way to understand this, that these are fake, but they just keep cranking them out, and just like there's so many of them, that's how they're kind of able to get away with them, because it's like the next one, whatever subsequent one you have washes off the stain of the previous one, and everyone just kind of forgets about that. But I don't know. Let's dig into a little bit about crazy assassins. Here is RJ Morrow digging a little bit into Sirhan. Sirhan isn't the first time somebody looking a little bit loony was involved in a political assassination. So here's RJ Murrow at Toxic Tiramisu on Twitter. It says William J. Bryan was a hypnotist and Korean War brainwashing chief who claimed to have deprogrammed Boston Strangler Albert DeSalvo. Sirhan's notebook contained DeSalvo's name, 2 Beverly Hill call girls, and Bryan bragged about being a CIA agent who hypnotized Sirhan. So let's look a little bit through here. He's pulling excerpts from a book. Let's actually see what book usually puts the source. The Assassination of Robert F. Kennedy by William Turner here. I'll give this a repeat for those who want to see the full, or not repeat, a retweet for those who want to see the full text here. But we'll read some of the highlighted portions on a few of these excerpts. It says, there was a passage that stood out because it was unlike the others, having nothing to do with horses, politics, money, or past acquaintances. It read, God help me. Please help me. Salvo, salvo, die, s, salvo. The reference apparently was to Albert DeSalvo, the notorious Boston Strangler. That case had been cracked by the use of hypnotism, and the hypnotist was Dr. William Joseph Bryan Jr. of L.A. Bryan billed himself as probably the leading expert in the world on the use of hypnosis in criminal law, and often boasted about being called into baffling cases by law enforcement agencies, including the LAPD. The Boston Strangler case was his tour de force, and he was incessantly mentioning it. During the Korean War, he had put his hypnotic skills to use as, in his words, chief of all medical survival training for the U.S. Air Force, which meant the brainwashing section. Yeah, survival training. That's a SEER, which is SEER instructors. It's a whole thing in the Air Force. Also very connected to like MK Ultra stuff. After the war, he reportedly became a CIA consultant in the agency's experimentation with mind control and behavior modifications. In 1969, the California Board of Medical Examiners found him guilty of unprofessional conduct for sexually molesting 4 women patients who submitted under hypnosis. Only hours after the RFK shooting and before Sirhan had been identified, Bryan appeared on the LA radio program of Ray Bream and offhandedly commented that the suspect probably acted under post-hypnotic suggestion. Crazy thing for him to say, huh? 2 years later, when Bryan appeared in another local radio program, Christian called in and asked him about his prescient analysis of the Bream show. At first, Bryan hedged, but then declared he had no professional opinion because he had not personally examined Sirhan. He quickly switched the subject to the Hollywood Strangler case, in which a Henry Bush was executed for murder. He utilized self-hypnosis, Bryan asserted, noted that Bush once tried to burn off his own arm with cigarettes under self-hypnosis. To get rid of the offending part, just like the old thing in the Bible, if the left hand offendeth thee, cut it off. When we asked Sirhan about the DeSalvo entry in his notebook, he replied that the name was entirely foreign to him. In the spring of 1977, Bryan was found dead in a Las Vegas motel room from natural causes, the coroner said. Curiously, this word was issued before the official autopsy. Shortly thereafter, we were put in contact with 2 Beverly Hill call girls who claimed to have known Brian intimately. They had been servicing him on an average of twice a week for 4 years, they said, and usually were present at the same time. During the last year of his life, he was deeply depressed because his paramour had run off with another man. He became strung out on drugs, and his groin and thighs were pocked with bruises from hypodermic needles. Gross. The girls said that to relieve Brian's depression, they repeatedly titillated his enormous ego by getting him to talk about all the famous people you've hypnotized. As if by rote, Brian would begin with his role of deprogramming Albert DeSalvo in the Boston Strangler case for F. Lee Bailey, then boast that he had hypnotized Sirhan Sirhan. The girls didn't sense anything unusual in the Sirhan angle, for Brian had told them many times that he worked with the LAPD on murder cases, and they didn't know that he had absolutely no contact with Sirhan following the assassination. One of the girls thought that Brian had mentioned James Earl Ray once, but wasn't sure, but both girls were certain of the name Sirhan Sirhan. The call girls were also linked to the CIA, or no, call girls also linked Brian to the CIA, my bad. At the outset of their relationship with him, he instructed them to call an unlisted phone number in his office, as if someone else answered, they were to say they were with the company, which is an insider's term for the CIA, and they would be put through to him. According to the girls, Ryan repeatedly confided that he was not only a CIA agent, but involved in top secret projects. So a little bit of a dig into that. Appreciate RJ for that. And here's a little bit more. Apparently Sirhan had a cult interest and frequented clubs where the Process Church proselytized. Process member named Lloyd worked as a chef at either the Ambassador Hotel or the Sheraton the day before shooting Robert Kennedy. Sirhan visited a friend in the Ambassador kitchen. So I'll retweet this one as well if you guys want to go down that thread. But let's read a couple of these excerpts here. So it says, persons belonging to the Black Arch churches were seen in full public view on the streets of Southern California community, black hoods and all, until the murder of Robert Kennedy, which just happened to occur in L.A. Actually, one second. Let me double check the book on this one to give you guys a reference. There's 2 of them here, so it could be either one of them. The Family by Ed Sanders and America Bewitched, The Story of Witchcraft After Salem by Daniel Logan. So those are the 2. But it's a whole thread here and different excerpts. So I'm assuming 2 different books. But sorry, just wanted to throw it out there. 1, many black art California-based cults, such as the Church of the Final Judgment, teach the destruction of the United States through chaos and mass violence. 2, then we get to 6. Sorry, I'm skipping through some of these. What's pertinent for what we're talking about here? It says Sirhan Sirhan, the assassin of Robert Kennedy, had studied mysticism and was a devotee, albeit a misguided one, of Madame Blavatsky, the woman who founded the Theosophical Society, and many of whose beliefs were not only mystically but politically inspired as well. 7, Charles Manson, while in prison in the 1960s, had also studied the occult teachings of Madame Blavatsky, along with those of other mystical personalities. 8, the night before Robert Kennedy was murdered, he had his last dinner with Sharon Tate and her husband, Roman Polanski. 9, a few months later, Sharon Tate and her friends were killed by Charles Manson's family. It is possible the process had a baleful influence on Sirhan Sirhan, since Sirhan is known in the spring of '68 to have frequented clubs in Hollywood in the same turf as the process was proselytizing. Sirhan was very involved in occult pursuits. He has talked several times subsequent to RFK's or Robert Kennedy's death that an occult group from London, which he knew about and which he really wanted to go to London to see. There was one process member named Lloyd who was working as a chef for one of the large LA hotels, either the Ambassador or the Sheraton. Lloyd was around 50 years old and was always complaining of the penurious life of the Jehovahans, while Bob and Hecate cruise the world in jet comfort. It is probably a coincidence that Sirhan seems to have visited a friend who worked in the kitchen of the Ambassador Hotel the day before he shot Senator Kennedy. And the Process Church of the Final Judgment stayed in public view till a few days after Robert Kennedy's assassination of June of '68, after which they dropped from sight in L.A. So a little bit of a coincidence, perhaps. So interesting stuff. Something to think about when you see these stories out there. There might be a whole lot more than meets the eye. That a lot of this, to a lot of this. But with that, let's roll into the chat, and then we'll get into Tulsi's story. Tulsi's out. She's resigned. So let's roll to the chat, say some more good mornings. Ooh, we got a couple super chats. I appreciate the support, so we'll go through some of those here in a moment, so appreciate it. Good morning, Oxtail. Good morning. Says, what's up, my nigga? What's up, my nigga? Good morning, Bug Fights. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Let me see. Just scrolling through the chat. Did the FBI know about this guy previous to shooting? Does he have a manifesto? If so, I haven't heard anything about it yet. But he was a bit of a lunatic. I think they may just leave it at lunatic. Is that the racism of the feds right there? Whenever they have a black guy do it, they just let us just be like, he was crazy. I mean, maybe just seed out like a couple social media psycho shit. But with a white guy, they have to have like a whole ass like planned out fucking like manifesto and fully like he cannot have conflicting like. It's got to make sense. I mean, okay, I'm being a little bit facetious because they actually tend to not make a lot of sense, and that's kind of like the joke, like, haha, Fed made this. But they put a lot more effort. There's a lot more effort, whereas like these ones are just like, look at the dreads. He's black. They're chimping, I guess. He's crazy. Something. He thinks he's Jesus. Like that does seem to be the vibe, perhaps. Maybe I'm noticing it. They accuse us of being racist, and they're the racists, so... but anyways, moving on. Set Sirhan free, says Tara. Hell yeah. Good morning, Fire Pixie again with $5. Appreciate the support. Says just cuz. Well, I appreciate that you did that just cuz. What else we got? It's moving through. Good morning, Tara Jackson. $2 from you. Just cuz squared. Well, if it was squared, it'd be $25. So it's what is 2 to 5? It doesn't even work with any of those. I don't know, divided by 2.5. There is what it would be. But appreciate the support. Thank you, Tara. Appreciate it. Hope things are going well with you. Who else we got in here? I think we're almost all caught up in the chat, and then we get into the last segment of the day. We're definitely cutting the Epstein class. I want to do it justice so that works out. But we'll talk a little bit about some Tulsi stuff and get us on out of here. No writings on bullets, says Boomer Sooner. Not that I've heard on. Yeah, they don't do the writings on the bullets for that. Yeah, the white guys, they pull out their glasses. They get the little magnifying thing. They put their little bullet in a vise and just spend like painstaking hours with a little scribe, one of those little metal working tools. Just to put every little like, I mean, you got like fucking, what was it? The Charlie Kirk one. They had some crazy ones where it had like something ridiculous, like 100 characters or some shit. So you just have some Fed in there going for like 3 hours for like one bullet. Just, the tiniest little movements. Yeah, that's exactly what's going on. But then the black guy, they're like, why don't we do this more often? So much easier. We don't have to do anything. Just make some social media account and says he thinks he's fucking, he's the revived ghost of fucking BB King and he wants to take over the White House. Okay. Like that's the move. It seems. All right. What else we got? Alan says my dreadlocks are longer than my sobriety. Okay. Well, you have dreads too. We got some white dreads in here, or we have a black guy. You guys know I don't care. I'm just curious because I feel like you're a white guy. So I'm like, we get a white guy with dreads. That's gross, dude. I'm sorry. That is generally pretty gross. I don't know. I've seen some nice white guy dreads, but dreads, from my understanding, are just hair you don't fucking take care of. Unless you're a chick. Chicks can get like extensions. You can get dreadlock extensions. So if you're a chick, so you may see like a hot girl with dreads, they're not always actually dreads. A lot of times there's extensions, and I'm good with that. Like, but yeah. Anyways, I hope you don't have nasty dreads. So I don't know why I went on a little tangent with that one. I was just thinking about how gross white people with dreads are. Very rarely is a white guy with dreads not gross. So I know we have some chats and there's some ladies in the chat. You tell me, do you agree? Have you ever seen a white guy with dreads that you're not like, that's probably gross? So, yeah, see, Tom, I've never seen clean dreads in my life. I refuse to believe they exist. Yeah, the only clean dreads are fake dreads, I believe. So, Jesus Christ had dreads to shake them, says Tara. Is that a song? I don't know. All right, anyways, let's get into some Tulsi, and then we'll come back to the comments. I'm sure we'll have all sorts of dread comments here in a bit. But let's check in what's going on with Tulsi. Did she finally develop a moral backbone? Did she leave? I mean, she resigned? Well, no, it's not the case. Apparently, the story here is her hubby has bone cancer, which I believe that's the guy in the... If you look at the thumbnail for today's show, I believe that's the guy in there with her. I believe that's her husband. But here's Tulsi. She says, I'm deeply grateful to the trust President Trump placed in me for the opportunity to lead ODNI Gov for the last year and a half, which is the Office of the DNI, which is like one of the Intel, I forget what the DNI even stands for, but one of these Intel ones. She's an Intel spook, one of the heads there. So unfortunately, I must submit my resignation effectively June 30th, 2026. My husband, Abraham, has recently been diagnosed with extremely rare form of bone cancer. He faces major challenges in the coming weeks and months. At this time, I must step away from public service to be by his side and fully support him through his battle. And she has shared here her formal resignation that she sent to Trump. Kind of the same things, same idea. Actually, I think it is a word for word for a lot of this from the tweet I just read you. But her kind of politely bowing out. My husband has cancer. Many people have speculated, and I'm here for the speculation. I wouldn't be really surprised if there's something more to this. But that's what we're being told. This is the forward-facing explanation that her husband has cancer. I'm guessing he probably does. That'd be a crazy thing to lie about. I don't know how bad it really is. I mean, not all cancers are made the same. I mean, for example, my stepdad's had like skin cancer for like decades now, but all that really means is every now and then, like maybe once a year or something, to be like, oh, here's a fucking chunk that's grown, and then go to the doctor, and then they fucking surgically remove it and moves on with his life, and it means nothing. So cancer can mean a whole bunch of nothing. It could mean some minor inconveniences. It could mean literally the end of your life in like days or weeks or something. So not sure. I haven't seen anything that clarified that further. I mean, you hear bone cancer and you assume it's bad. I mean, I know that's the impression when you think of bone cancer. I don't know if there's different types. I don't know. I am not I don't even know what you call a cancer doctor. I feel like I used to know. I can't think. Anyways, I'm not one of those guys. I don't know. But sounds believable enough. Sounds like an insane thing to lie about. Although quite the missed opportunity. Tulsi completely flubbed this up. I mean, let's be real. It seems like she was used to kind of put a rubber stamp on a lot of stuff Trump did amongst those who would kind of fall more in line with her beliefs. She was essentially this individual we have up there in the establishment that people would point to of like, well, I don't know. Well, Tulsi, she's anti-war. She's anti-nuclear proliferation. She doesn't want us to go to nuclear war. She's against regime change. She's up there in the ivory tower. She's making shit happen. And all the reports we hear, from back there are no, she's basically kind of edged out of every decision. And you never know sometimes, is this just like stagecraft of what they're telling you? Like, ooh, this is what's going behind the scenes. I kind of don't care. At the end of the day, like, she was put in a position where she could have made change happen. And yes, that may have required something like a resigning, kind of like what Joe Kent did. But she didn't. And don't get me wrong, I've pointed out with somebody like a Joe Kent, you also got to be suspicious of these types of being some sort of controlled op. But at the same time, like, I mean, I don't even understand what Tulsi's doing because, like, this doesn't even make sense either way. Like, if you're a character of the establishment or if you're like the move here would have been to in some way, I don't know if maybe this is like somehow you get out ahead of it. I don't know. It just seems like such a missed opportunity. Tulsi's kind of basically done nothing while she's been there and been a crazy disappointment. The argument being that, perhaps if she's in the room, she can somehow sway things to, be more in line with people thought she believed in, but that has proven itself not to be the case over and over again. So, but she's gone now and going out with, I guess, like a whimper, not much of anything. I mean, she got out. I guess she didn't stick around, but yep, that's that. I do find it worth mentioning. Now, I guess this is a conspiracy. We do talk a lot about conspiracies and get quite schizophrenic in the show. Apparently, Pam Bondi also just recently got diagnosed with cancer. Interesting. And then, like, I guess a number of other people, and I think a lot of them were like people that were weirdly kind of like on the outs. I don't have that like chart of all the people who supposedly got it recently, so that's weird. But I don't know. Who knows? Maybe the FBI is working overtime with a heart attack gun, just hanging outside their offices. Now, I guess to spell it out for people who aren't getting what we're getting at, not saying that like, you know, Bondi didn't do her job and that like running cover for the Epstein class, but she is a liability in the sense that she is a loose end. Same thing with Tulsi in some ways, where like she really could stir shit up. Obviously, she's kind of going out like a bitch, so it's not looking like she's going to stir stuff up. But if you were going to be super schizophrenic, you could be like, well, you're getting rid of loose ends in incredibly plausibly deniable sorts of ways. I don't know if that's the case. Maybe just a weird coincidence. I mean, but weird, worth mentioning. Also, something worth mentioning that we didn't cover in the show when it was happening is apparently there was looks like there was a. I guess how do I front this story knowing how it ends? It was thought for a while that perhaps, and maybe they did. We're still a little bit unsure of the reality of the situation. That looks like Tulsi's office recently got raided, perhaps by the CIA. But to kind of, I guess, start this off, here's a Fox News clip we can watch being shared by Nick Sorter saying, "Holy crap, the CIA just raided Tulsi Gabbard's office and seized documents related to the JFK assassination, MK Ultra, and more that Gabbard was set to declassify. Boxes of them. The CIA is in direct violation of a Trump executive order. 47 must reel in CIA." Thanks, Nick. Appreciate it. Well, here is the Fox News covering it. John Kiriakou, I believe, was on panel when this happened, and this is what Jesse Waters. So let's play it.
And this just in, John. The CIA just raided Tulsi Gabbard's office. Agents hauled out dozens of boxes, files on the JFK assassination and MK Ultra, the CIA mind control operation, which she was in the process of declassifying. Today's whistleblower said it during his deposition, and Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna confirmed it moments ago.
The reason why this is troubling is, A, there was an executive order that the president had directed the full declassification of JFK, but then also to the MK Ultra files. The CIA famously has said that, all documents were released and other documents had been destroyed. So these are allegedly those documents that apparently never existed.
And this just in, John.
So, okay, there you go. They played the clip. Then you have Jesse Waters and plays the other clip of Anna Paulina Luna saying that, saying what she said. Well, then shortly after that, we had deletions, corrections. Here's Brianna Morello. This is Jesse Waters has deleted his post accusing the CIA of raiding DNI Tulsi Gabbard's office. Gabbard's team denied those claims immediately after the post started going viral yesterday. The original post received over 2.6 million views. Waters has not posted a statement clarifying his report. Now, I don't know if he posted anything since then. This was posted like a couple weeks ago this happened. So I don't know, maybe Jesse did address it. I don't know. I'm not really surprised either way, whether he did or didn't. But you can see here, and I actually looked at it at real time to see like, oh, did he really delete? Yes, he did. If you go to look for the tweet, nothing to see here as it shows on Twitter. Well, it's kind of like, well, what happened here? Let's watch this clip again of like what set this all off. We showed it in that first clip, but just to re-hone back in on it, we had Anna Paulina Luna. She said some stuff that triggered this belief, this reporting frenzy. But here is Anna again. So let's watch this clip and see what she said.
You also have some news coming out of the CIA that you'd like to share.
Yes. So we were actually just notified that the CIA went and took documents out of ODNI, multiple boxes pertaining to the JFK files as well as MK Ultra. The reason why this is troubling is there was an executive order that the president had directed the full declassification of JFK, but then also to the MK Ultra files. The CIA famously has said that, all documents were released and other documents had been destroyed. So these are allegedly those documents that apparently never existed. And so very troubling. I did just talk to Chairman Comer, and we are sending in the next hour or so a preservation of documents request to the CIA. I have calls into the White House to the director of the CIA himself. And so obviously, as this develops, we'll keep everyone up to date. But strange times we're living in.
Okay, so there was a little bit more of an expanded version of what she said, and then she says clarification, she says here. She later clarifies, quote, tweets her own statement here on the show on Kate Pavlich tonight. She said, took documents that ODNI has jurisdiction over. Although also this did not happen today and was not a raid. However, it did take place, and we're just being made aware of it based on reporting, etc. So it didn't actually happen on that day. It wasn't some breaking, oh my God, this just happened. We weren't entirely sure when it happened. It was not a raid, as she framed it. And apparently these are just documents they're saying that they actually had jurisdiction over for some reason. So, yeah, that's where it is. So that's where the frenzy, went through. Everyone immediately, oh, it's a raid. The CIA raided them and came to their office and took their shit. Well, I don't. Maybe there's something to that. Maybe there's more. As right when she resigned, I saw this piece going about. Apparently, it looks like perhaps the CIA was essentially conducting, targeting. I don't even know what you would say. Conducting surveillance, I guess, on Gabbard. It looks like that's what's been occurring here. So we have a piece here, a Twitter article. This is from Catherine Harridge. She has 1 million followers on Twitter. Okay. Emmy-winning investigative journalist telling the stories I could not tell before, where the facts have a power all their own. And it says, exclusive strong indicators CIA was tracking DNI Gabbard team emerged months ago. So this may give a little more explanatory power to whatever the fuck was going on over there. So it's based on my reporting, it was well known in national security circles that a CIA investigative unit had sent emails to several members of DNI, Gabbard's Directors Initiative Group, or DIJ, demanding they come in for questioning. While the CIA unit routinely conducts polygraphs and investigations, the timing of the request was concerning. It did not appear to be part of a standard security clearance review. The alleged CIA monitoring of the Directors Initiative Group was described as tracking every keystroke on their government computers and devices. While there is no expectation of privacy on government computers and users often see a logon warning, it did not appear to be routine counterintelligence work by the CIA. In recent testimony before the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee, chaired by Senator Rand Paul, CIA Senior Operations Officer and whistleblower James Erdman III alleged that the CIA illegally spied on the computers and phones of the Directors Initiatives Group, along with their investigations and contacts with whistleblowers. Note, the DIJ investigated the JFK, RFK, and MLK assassinations, the origins of COVID-19, Crossfire Hurricane, the Biden administration's domestic surveillance, anomalous health incidents, and unidentified aerial phenomena. Erdman provided detailed testimony about the DIJ's investigations into directed energy attacks, also known as Havana Syndrome, or anomalous health incidents. This is not the first time the CIA appears to have been monitoring DIG communications. Individuals involved in our AHI investigation discovered third parties were listening in on secure phone calls at intelligence community facilities. In one instance, it was during a conversation with a whistleblower. These incidents were also reported in counterintelligence channels, and DNI IT experts confirmed that reproducing what occurred on the secure phone calls required an IT engineering work order. Someone had to request a technical change to the infrastructure. During its investigations of AHIs, my reporting reveals additional allegations the CIA denied Gabbard's investigators access to key analysts and officials still working in the CIA building, as well as relevant, highly classified intelligence held in compartmented programs. I also understand that requests to review internal CIA correspondence / communications regarding the Biden era AHI intelligence assessments, including whether the intelligence was manipulated and the findings altered, were blocked. The Biden era intelligence community assessments concluded it was unlikely that a novel weapon or foreign adversary was responsible for the debilitating brain injuries suffered by spies, diplomats, military personnel, and some civilians, injuries that can lead to brain cell atrophy and death. As I reported in February, a DIG report and findings into directed energy attacks, or AHIs, were finalized and prepped for release, but there was strong intelligence community resistance to revealing it. The report is still not public, and this week, Judicial Watch sued the federal government for the records. Based on my reporting, the DIG, DNI Gabbard's Task Force into Weaponization and Politicization, found the analytic tradecraft used by the intelligence community under the Biden administration was defective. I also understand the DIG's recommendations inside the recall include the recall of the 2023 and 2024 intelligence community assessments on AHIs. DNI Gabbard committed to a new review of so-called Havana syndrome after our 2025 independent investigation. Our reporting revealed that brain injuries suffered by U.S. spies, diplomats, military operatives, and civilians can cause progressive damage to the brain and nervous system. In response to new reporting and questions, an ODNI official said, "We have confirmed that the Intelligence Community Inspector General is aware of the allegations and is working alongside ODNI and interagency partners to uncover the truth about any potential wrongdoing." A CIA official said the agency has been and will continue to be supportive of any IG investigation into past conduct by CIA on this issue. The official disputed allegations that the agency had frustrated the investigation by DNI Gabbard's team. CIA worked to provide the DIG with access to information responsive to the executive orders prior to its disbandment by the DNI. On AHIs or Havana syndrome, the CIA official said the CIA director has been clear, including in sworn testimony before Congress, that CIA refers to ODNI leading an interagency analytic review of AHIs. Thank you for supporting independent journalism. And then you have Senator Rand Paul, right under one of the first comments here. So the intel community is spying on itself. This is how perverse the government really is. So I know there was a lot of acronyms being thrown around there, but essentially to put it in its kind of its essence here is it sounds like what they're getting at is the DNI Gabbard, their team, what was it? They called it the DIG, the Director Initiatives Group, which I believe that might have been the group, if I recall correctly, that supposedly Steve Baker had something to do with. So keep in mind, we have spooks versus spooks here. So like, we're in a world of confusion. Like there's no, like, I'm not taking teams necessarily here or whatever. Like, I guess roughly it sounds like what the ODNI, the DIG, they're essentially they're essentially doing like an IG sort of thing. Or Inspector General, like essentially they're like a third party investigating these groups is essentially what they're kind of doing here. And so you had Tulsi's group digging into all these different things. They're digging into like Havana syndrome sort of stuff, which kind of reminds me of some of the Baker stuff, because I know one of Baker's goofy reporting that's out there is one of his Trust Me Bros on some Havana syndrome sort of stuff, or not Havana syndrome, on directed energy weapons, which makes me wonder. Apparently there's some sort of weird connection between him and the Erdman guy they mentioned. So I'm wondering if that like Erdman was the guy who was his Trust Me Bro. So he's got this Trust Me Bro from this whistleblower. Maybe, I don't know. I'm just noticing these connections here. But anyways, you have this one group who was looking into CIA activities, in regards to past stuff like the Havana syndrome stuff, directed energy weapons, yada yada yada. And I guess during the course of this, they've uncovered that it looked like the CIA was also kind of doing their own surveillance on essentially the ODNI, DIG teams as well. So, surprise, surprise, the CIA is doing CIA stuff. But I don't know, it makes you wonder what the fuck really was going on here. This might be something we figure out years from now, weeks from now. I don't know. But I have a feeling there's a whole lot more to come out on that. But with that, let's roll the chat one last time, say our goodbyes. Like I said, we're going to have to cut out the last segment. I don't want to go too long, and I don't want to try to do it too short either with this Israel's Epstein class. We'll talk about that tomorrow. That'll probably be our first named segment of the day. I'm looking forward to that one. We have I guess to give a little bit of a teaser. I plan on talking about the Trump's son's wedding, which is funny in one way, and then also, there's some Epstein connections. And apparently we're also going to be digging into some West Bank, some of the people over in the West Bank, the settlements. There's been this ongoing controversy about sexual ritual abuse over there, and apparently they've basically just admitted to it. So we'll be talking about that a little bit. There also was an Israeli that got caught with a biolab in Vegas. It had HIV and dengue fever in it, and looks like those are getting dismissed. So we'll talk about that tomorrow as well. And I don't know, maybe talk a little bit, do like kind of what we did with Sirhan, and maybe dig a little bit into some Jonestown stuff. Looks like there might have been some tiny hats involved. So we'll dig into that tomorrow, and that kind of connects into the Israeli Epstein class as well. But I'm looking forward to that one. I'm kind of bummed we aren't doing it right now, but we'll do that tomorrow. But with that, guys, I do have a fun outro for you today, though, so I think you'll like. So, but with that, guys, for those who want to support what I'm doing, let's do the plugs here. Those who want to support what I'm doing, leave a like, share, subscribe, comment, leave a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. You can find the show on YouTube, Rumble, all the major audio podcatchers, and Twitter as well. On Twitter, that's at TowerGangJose. Everywhere else, that is the No Way Jose podcast. And if you want to support the show the best way you can do that with money over at patreon.com. There's No Way Jose 2020. We got the QR code in the top left-hand corner. It brings you the same place as that URL I just gave you. There at the low level, $2, you can support the show, and you get a whole host of perks for it as well. I try to give you guys access to I said that backward. I give you guys access to early episodes. I try to do about 1 to 2 of those per week. Try to keep about 3 to 4 of them behind the paywall at any given time. Also give you guys access to the ad-free RSS feed. Give you guys access to the Telegram, the pre-show, the post-show, and video calls on me and Austin's weekly live call-in show, which is already dead, which goes out on Tuesdays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. I also give a big shout out to the highest level of my Patreon, which is my sponsors, as a big thank you for their support. I'm my previous coach in Tower Gang, at Learn Toad, also at Brigade D's, at ZLVCK, at _Vizil, Tim Tuttle, at John Klebo, big fan of the show, Torrent May, at Wayne Tackles, When I Car for Kids, No Free Lunch, Jack, Mark Vestibule, Jacob Wintergrad of the Biblical Anarchy Podcast, and John Black, that beautiful bastard. With that, guys, enjoy this beautiful outro. Now, to set it up, though, this is a fun little video for us to go out on, but it is quote tweeting something worth mentioning, I think. A little bit of story. So I guess this is our final story of sorts on the way out. Here we have J.D. Vance is apparently considering abandoning his run for president in 2028 per Daily Mail. So looks like we're having J.D. falling off the old 2028 wagon. It looks like that may be going more favored towards Marco Rubio. We'll see how that plays out. We'll keep you posted. But kind of, I think this is a beautiful representation of what is happening here from a American classic movie, The Titanic. Here's Peter Thiel and J.D. Vance recreating a scene here, a scene that very much hits at the essence of what is happening here, with J.D. Vance no longer likely going to be pursuing his presidential, no longer pursuing the presidency in 2028. So without any further ado, here is our outro. We'll see you tomorrow around 11 a.m. Eastern. Love you all.
Is this really how it all ends, Mr. Till?
It's not the end, JD. We can come back from this.
I don't know how much longer I can hold on, Mr. Till.
Just hold on, JD. It'll be okay.
I'm cold, Miss Stoutil. Miss Stoutil, I'm cold. Goodbye, Miss Stoutil. Don't say goodbye! Don't you ever say goodbye, JD! I love you, Mr. Till.
I know, JD.
No!